So there's been a big change to Frost Clench. So Destructive Clench has had a big change. And this is now actually quite a good option for a taunt. So if you've got a Frost Staff and you use Destructive Clench, this has been commonly known as a really, really bad taunt. Because it's got a shorter range and no benefit compared to Inner Fire. And it's obviously not as good as Pierce Armor. Now, it is really an option now for your back bar taunt because it's got so much going on for it. So, the first thing is, obviously it does damage. The initial hit always applies the Elemental's status effect. So, if you're using an Ice Staff, it's always going to apply the chilled effect. Which also means it's always going to proc Minor Brittle and Minor Maim and the chilled effect. So, you're going to get that every time on the initial hit, because that's what it says. Initial hit always applies the elemental status effect. So it's now a taunt, and it's going to apply Minor Brittle as a guarantee every time you use it. The base costs 2732. If you're using an Ice Staff, it goes down to 1366. So very, very cheap. Very cheap. If we look at it with the Ice Staff equipped, so devastate an enemy with an enchanted charge from your staff, dealing 2,390 frost damage, applying the chilled status effect, taunting them for 15 seconds. It immobilizes the enemy, inflicts major maim for 5 seconds, reducing the damage done by 10%. This is now going to be useful in situations that are high damage, because you can just hit Frost Clench to do a triple effect. Absolutely crazy. So you've got major maim, minor bristle, taunt, and it's doing, like, it's just doing so much with one skill now. The immobilization isn't great. Obviously, the range on it, if you look at the range, 15 meters. The range isn't a huge amount. It's better than, obviously, it's got a further range than a melee taunt, but it's not as far as Inner Fire. Would this be possible on Locky Hard Mode Range Tank? Maybe just about. I don't know if it's maybe just a little bit too far. The thing is, you could always just run this on one bar and Inner Fire on the other. You don't need a melee taunt for that fight. I don't use a melee taunt on that fight anyway. You could use Inner Fire on your front bar and this on the back bar. So, like, you could have this on your back bar with, let's say, Crushing Shock if you were running Elemental Catalyst. You could have this on your back bar with Elemental Catalyst and be spamming your Crushing Shock, maybe using your Frost Clench to taunt. And then on your front bar, have Inner Fire just in case it's not quite far enough. I don't know. But you definitely could use it. The fact that it just does so much. It's a cheap skill. 15 meters is the big problem people are going to have. The range isn't huge. The cost is low. 1,366 magicka. It deals frost damage, so you get a bit of damage out of it. Chilled effect. Minor Brittle. Minor Maim. Major Maim. Taunt. Crazy. Big change. It's definitely a crazy change in terms of it's now a skill that does a lot. It was a skill that did nothing, and now it's a skill that does a lot. So yeah, huge change for that particular skill, for Frost Clench. And yeah, you might see it used a lot more next patch, definitely.